I don't have the gavel. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you all please rise, joining me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, Lud. I know, I was slipping into train. I know. I'd like to welcome everybody here today. Ashley, would you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Ellis?
Here.
Farnham?
Here.
Lawton?
Here.
Ludington?
Here.
Patrick?
Here.
Bruner?
Here.
And Voigt.
Here. We do have a full quorum, so the roll call's done. We need to act on the July 13 regular meeting minutes. You've had those for just a couple of days. Are there any additions or corrections or questions about the minutes as presented by the county clerk? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve those. Lud moves. Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The minutes are approved as presented. Claims against the county. You've had those for about 48 hours. Are there any questions or clarifications that we need to get you, or? Hearing none, motion to approve claims. Andy moves, Lud seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The claims are approved. Next, the county board member claims. Any clarifications or questions about those? Hearing none, motion to approve. Dan moves. Andy seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are approved. Now we come towards the part of the meeting where we ask for public comment. We would ask that you identify yourself by name. Anything else you want to tell us about you is totally optional. And your remarks be limited to 5 minutes. So the floor is open. There is a rostrum up there if you want to use it. Are there any public comments? Okay, hearing none, I am going to reverse order. I'm going to change the order a little bit. We have a resolution for approval of the application for a solar energy system submitted by Cypress Creek Renewables and by name of the project. We'll add that to it. So, Lisa, well, first of all, if we do approve this, it would be subject to the review by the state's attorney as a final document. So if you approve it, we'd still have to have the state's attorney sign off on it. Okay? Lisa.
Yes, so today we do have a presentation by the applicants for the solar farm that would go north of Kansas, as well as their legal counsel. Gentlemen, if you want to come up, and you have some documents to present to us as well?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You want to introduce yourselves, gentlemen?
Just check it so we can.
Yeah,
the
one with the tie. My name is Ryan McQuigg with Cypress Creek. I have some PowerPoint slides for you guys to kind of follow along here. I'll distribute those.
Yeah, I got one, but well, maybe not this one.
My name is Ben Jacoby.
You guys just want to take one and pass it?
Sure. Removal from the applicant.
The lawyer.
But he also shared with me that he has, from his prior role, a relationship or a knowledge of Edgar County.
Yeah, I used to be on this side of the table. Less than a year ago, I worked at O'Halloran Kostoff Geiger and Cook, which is the council for ICRMT members. And so in liability matters, I may have crossed paths with one or more of you in a former life, mainly state's attorney, former state's attorney, I should say, or judge. So yeah, I represented all the counties in that program. So happy to be here to help with this today.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Like I said, my name is Ryan McQuigg with Cypress Creek. here as an applicant for Short Stand Solar, community solar project here in Edgar County. Just, oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, so kicking things off, just a little introduction to Cypress Creek and who we are, what we do. We've been around since 2014 and really focusing on utility scale and distributed generation solar, so it's community scale all over the country, but really focusing on Illinois over the past few years and the state's program, and there's a lot of excitement. So far we have over 17 projects in operation in the state and a pipeline of many more to come. So, and with that, not only development, we have a branch of operations and maintenance to make sure that these things are running well, and over the lifetime of that project, things go smoothly, right?
Are you involved in the ones in Coles County?
Yes.
Is that all your, or is that look different?
That was a you know, the one that's under operation, you're saying?
Right.
That was a partnership, so it was a little unique in how that came together. We don't, I think we have the operations and maintenance agreement with those sites. All right, so included a little visual, kind of the, give a description of kind of what we're talking about here. I guess next page. So, Short Stand Solar is the name of this project specifically. It's split between two different parcels, just north of Kansas, Illinois, along County Road 1375 West. So, I guess in short, this is a 2 megawatt AC project, which is equivalent to about 20 total acres. We have one proposed access road along that county road there. And obviously, we're here to meet the new Edgar County Solar Ordinance, AMA, and all state requirements. At this stage, this is like a prelim site plan, so when we get further into design, the building permit stage, we'll obviously have that executed AMA document and all of the ordinance items prior to the building permit. Right, and then, so short stand's just by the numbers here. So for the interconnection, or just the term of how we output that energy back onto the grid, that utility is Ameren. It's community solar, so unlike utility scale, we have subscribers. So folks can actually subscribe to this project and take money off of their energy bill. Which is directly a benefit to the community, right? That service volume is between 300 and 400 homes, approximately. The total investment is about $4 million, and then that spending during construction is $2 million, and aiming to serve 20 local jobs here in Edgar County as well. Just in terms of agricultural impact, it's been an interesting topic here in the state, but I think solar farms are really, really conducive, even though it might not seem that way on paper all the time, but taking the use off of the land and letting the ground regenerate for eventually decommissioning that land to be agricultural again, I think is really great. We're not putting concrete in the ground with the exception of some footings for like structural integrity of those arrays. Drainage, groundwater recharge, is very minimally affected. We're encouraging pollinator plantings, and really just trying to be an asset to local farmers and the surrounding environment. And we included a little slide here on AMA. I think probably the county board is familiar with this, but agricultural impact mitigation agreement, and that's between the Department of Agriculture and then the actual owner of the solar facility. It sets forth a lot of standards and requirements for the state and how these projects will be constructed, maintained, and then eventually decommissioned. which is really great. It really sets a high standard in how things should be completed. And it touches on things like support structures, cabling depth, drain tiles, which is obviously a big item here, and say topsoil, and obviously that's a document that we hold in high standard as well, and we'll have on record here in the county when we get closer to building permit. On that last note, deconstructioning, decommissioning, and I guess tying back into the agricultural impacts. This slide kind of walks through what that process looks like. Ultimately, it speaks on the ground should be exactly how we left it, or we started with it. All concrete's pulled out. The ground is going to be fresh and ready for agricultural use following this decommissioning process. But this kind of outlines the financial assurance that's tied to it. So if anything was ever to happen to the solar farm, there's no walking away. That's certainly not our intent, but that's what it's protecting of. That's kind of the short and sweet version. And I included a bunch of appendix slides just in case there's any questions. And then I'll invite my counsel, Mr. Jacoby, up and kind of just speak about.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You were talking about building this, maintain the soil, and then it's gonna be decommissioned, right? So it's only gonna last a particular period of time, and you get rid of it?
Correct, yeah. The panels have about a 20-year lifespan. And
once the panels are done, you just tear it up and the heck with it?
No, there's certainly opportunity for continuing that use, but the way these projects for community solar are structured, we're actually leasing this land from typically farmers. So the goal is to allow them to enter back into that if they so choose to farm that land.
But they can continue this if they want to.
They could certainly re-sign up and replace those panels and keep that going.
I have a couple questions for you. Page 6. On community solar, I went to a presentation last night by Apex across the state line, and was understanding that if it's under 5 megawatts, it's community, and if it's over, then it's industrial. That's probably not the right term. But so in community, by definition, having subscribers, can you explain a little bit more about our particular project and the definition of subscribers?
Yeah.
And who they will be?
Yeah, so it's a little nuanced because in Illinois, homeowners or users, energy users have the option to select how they obtain energy. Like not all states allow folks to choose, right? In Illinois, Ameren, in this case, would be sending flyers out to folks, allowing folks to subscribe to the project and take money off of their bill. In this specific project, it's 300 to 400 homes we have that option. Does that make sense?
So how does this affect the monthly utility rate for electricity? Is it lower or higher or about the same as what's normally paid?
Yeah, it does take money off of the bill, and it really varies of how Ameren actually is going to structure this. It's I can't give a number because
It's less expensive.
it's certainly less expensive, right?
I don't have much confidence in Ameren, sir. That's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I can't speak anything to that.
That's all I can say.
And my question regarding the number that you come up with regarding the 20 local jobs during construction, so is this open to bid?
Not yet. So this is still in a preliminary phase at this approval. Further along the process, when we finish final design and get closer to building permit, then we would get closer to bidding out for the job. And obviously the goal is to have local labor part of the project and support the community, but that will be decided later on.
So how does that process work?
Yeah, so we would partner with an EPC, so engineering and procurement and construction company, so it kind of typically works in this field. That operates almost as a GC, general contractor, we then would sub out the specific, the electrical trades, the structural, all that good stuff.
Okay.
So I assume like the 300 or 400 homes, obviously you're right, the north edge of Kansas, that gives the opportunity to most of the houses in Kansas.
Right?
When do you anticipate, I mean, I don't know how long the process takes, like next year to maybe start the project?
Yeah, our schedule, assuming everything goes well, is we're planning to start construction early this coming spring. This project, I'm sorry I didn't touch on, is a part of the IPA Adjustable Block Program 2 megawatt tranche. So a lot of those projects with the allocation for the 2 megawatt projects are kind of, that's the timeline typically, as you're going online by the end of 2023.
And on page 9, we're talking about financial assurance and the reclamation and surety bond or other form. Tell me a little more about that process.
Yeah, so similar to any construction project, that the general contractor or ultimate owner of the project would have a bond with the county or local jurisdiction in case anything happened throughout construction. Like I know in the past, in 2008 comes to mind of companies going under and just leaving construction sites half done, which isn't ideal. So that assurance provides, if anything were to happen, either the money could be allocated to remove all of that part or to finish off the project, and it would change ownership entity. But it's really just a legal assurance for both parties to make sure that no one's really harmed in the process. But to your point on the actual allocation over the duration of the project, the way AMA outlines it, this is all AMA, the money, the way it's allocated, because of the lifetime of the project, it's actually, the actual bonding amounts change over the duration of the year, and that's what it's speaking of. So the end of the first year it's 10%, end of the sixth year it's 50%. By the 11th it's 100% of that money. Does that make sense? Is that your question?
Partly. So how is that 10% determined? 10% of what?
Yes, so with the application, we included a decommissioning estimate, and that's what that number is based off of. So it's 10% of that total number. And it's the money that would essentially tied to the cost of the project to decommission it, and then that material surety cost as well.
Okay. So we hold the bond in the treasurer's office. Jeff?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's what I was wondering, do we hold it, or is it
Who
through the
holds the
landowner, or?
It's typically the county,
County,
is my
okay.
experience, but yeah, we can kind of figure it out.
It's made out to the county then.
Mhm.
It's made out to the county.
Right. So it's not like it's got it's paperwork that we'll have on file
Correct.
that shows a bond. They'll have to meet certain criteria with the bond company. And then all of that will be sent to us and be part of the permanent file on the property, on the project. And as those bonds increase, then they'll have an obligation to change the bond from 10, 15, or 50 to 100%.
And if the triggering conditions apply in the bond, then the county can call the bond and pull the money from the bond. From the issue.
And then you also have like a separate contract with the landowner to protect him
Yeah.
through all that, whatever might come up.
Yeah, please.
And then, I guess another thing, I know I looked at the whole thing, but I don't remember all the details, but, like the tile and all the different things that the company has to comply with, who checks that to see that?
Right, they have to work with Soil and Water District, and through Soil and Water District, also the drainage districts that might be involved. And if there's a complaint by a surrounding farmer, we'll figure it out.
So if that's all addressed in the
Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
ordinance?
Yeah, no, it's a really hot topic, and what we're finding best practices in Illinois, because a lot of the really old drain tiles clay and already kind of in really poor shape. Our drain tile expert is essentially aiming to, under construction, instead of trying to avoid them, just replacing everything and making sure that everything is functioning smoothly instead of accidentally hitting that drain tile and then finding out it's an issue a year or two down the line.
Because if you start this in spring, we'll find out pretty quick.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Other questions before we move on to their legal counsel? Yes.
Do you have any questions or issues at this time?
Not in this setting.
Jill? No, that's the legal, well, the EOP, once, like I said, the ordinance passed, whatever, will be a part of our emergency operations link.
Okay.
Just got one question. You say, service volume, 300 to 400 homes, so is, is that just, that's what it will produce, or do they actually, in some manner, subscribe?
That's the subscriber number, and that's how, it's both based on the energy production capacity of the facility and then the subscriber number to try to balance
So
that.
people will have actually subscribe to that then?
Exactly.
Have you gotten people to subscribe yet?
We're at the stage where we're working with Ameren to set up that account and get the subscribers going, but, yeah, still a little early for that.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see the Kansas school subscribes.
Subscribe.
So you're looking at pulling off of Route 49 and using 2 county roads or township roads. I know that might be a little specific for,
Oh, for total, like, making traffic of the construction vehicles, that's correct. That's what we're aiming for. I mean, obviously, it's kind of dependent on where we're getting materials, and material pricing is changing so much over the last several months. So we'll make sure to work with the relevant folks, and we have a plan set up.
Is there a road use, is that addressed in,
it's addressed in our ordinance, and that comes, we had talked about that comes a little further down the line when we get into more of the operational part.
Correct.
That's why Aaron's been briefed on it a little bit.
All right, any other questions?
Anything, Wyatt?
Well, I would say as long as you guys are satisfied and the AMA and your ordinance guidelines are met, we have nothing for that at this time. The one thing I would add is independent local tile expert. Look at tile.
Agreed.
I know Monday, Wyatt brought up if there was AMA or whatever that's
AMA.
called, but there was something else that he questioned whether it was addressed.
Right, Wyatt, I'll let you speak that one.
That would be the too wet to farm, too wet to construct language that we'd like to have inserted in both ordinances. So we're still obviously looking for that, trying to find the right place to put it, so.
Cool. With that, we'll turn it over to Mr. Jacoby to kind of speak to the actual ordinance purpose and specifics of application.
Thanks, Ryan. And, I'll take these. Thanks again, Ben Jacoby. It's a pleasure to be here. As I said earlier, I used to sit on that side of the table, so it's fun for me to be here and to help with these projects. Helped a lot of counties with solar ordinances. I helped draft a bunch of them, solar and other energy development back when I was working for counties and municipalities. So I feel strongly that these projects are good for the community, and that's why I'm helping Cypress Creek with this today. I wanted to address just briefly to make sure that the county hits the points that it needs to be compliant with the ordinance. And I went through the ordinance in great detail, and I've gone through the application with Ryan. And I think that, you know, the application and the demonstration here today show that Cypress Creek and the applicant, which is actually Short Sands Solar LLC, we want to make sure that that's clear, that the applicant here is Short Sands LLC, which is owned by Cypress Creek Renewables. Cypress Creek Renewables is the sole member and managing member of Short Sands, but Short Sands is the special purpose vehicle that actually owns the project. Necessary for a lot of the reasons, mainly involved with financiers, like the asset to be owned by a special purpose vehicle. So the applicant, being Short Sands Solar LLC, shows that, you know, can comply with all of your design and safety standards that are set forth in the ordinance. So that's number one, and also that its application and that the project is consistent with the purpose of the ordinance. And I think that's really important. And I went through the purpose bullet points list in the ordinance 1 through 5. The first one is to assure the protection of health, safety, welfare, and property values for all Edgar County residents and land use. I mean, that's tantamount to the county's responsibility, and this application demonstrates that it does just that. In fact, the first couple of pages go through some items. They're labeled Cypress Creek intent for general county compliance, and they show that, you know, A through E. A through E or A through F, 6 of them, show that the application, you know, satisfies that purpose, that this project really touches those points and it protects the county's residents, and it does not interfere with any health or safety aspects. And in fact, health and safety is addressed more in detail in Appendix 1, or Appendix A of the application. The second purpose is to avoid adverse impact on important areas such as agricultural land, endangered species habitats, conservation land, and other sensitive lands. You know, it's only a 38-acre parcel that we're talking about here, but it's agriculture, it's fully permeable, and it's going to stay that way. The fencing is designed to allow small animals in and out, keep the, you know, the deer out, to allow, you know, squirrels and rabbits, they can get in and out. The vegetative you know, planting and maintenance will be conducive to preserving that land. And I think the Soil and Water Conservation District, when they complete their analysis, will agree with that assessment as well. So it's important that that the applicant, you know, preserve that, and the application demonstrates that they will, and their intent is to do so. The third purpose of the ordinance is to assure that any development and product of solar-generated electricity in Edgar County is safe and effective. That overlaps a little bit with number 1, but again, these are safe modules. They're, you know, very modern these days, and Appendix 1 goes through some of the actual science behind it, if you wanted to look at that. The fourth purpose, to promote the supply of solar energy in support of the state of Illinois statutory goal of increasing energy production from renewable energy resources. This sort of relates, I think, to CEJA, to the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act that was passed in 2021, and the state's goals. You know, setting those ambitious goals aside, this is really a community solar project. It's for the community. It's not big enough to generate energy for large cities. This is for Edgar County, and I think that's demonstrated by the subscriber service that's proposed that Ameren is working with, and that's all part of the adjustable block program, which is Illinois' state regulation of community solar. Illinois, as Ryan mentioned, is a deregulated state, meaning utilities are not necessarily monopolies. You have independent power producers coming in and competing with those utilities. That's not the same in every state. In Illinois, we have competition in the electricity market, and that's what this project is doing. It's providing some competition to those utilities locally. And lowering prices is a side effect. And then fifth purpose, to facilitate economic opportunities for local residents. What does a lot of that, you know, not only is the landowner getting a lease, but you have the local construction jobs and investments there, and then property taxes are coming in big. I mean, this is going to increase the assessed value of the land by about 8 times. Solar projects are assessed at $218,000 per megawatt, so this is a 2 megawatt project, as the fair market value, I should say, and then there's an equalizer that's applied, and it really comes out to be about 8 times what the property is currently being assessed at. So that's a significant increase in property taxes for the county that go to, you know, about 1% to the county, about 3.5% to the school. Like, you know, I don't know if those numbers are exactly accurate, but that's sort of what I pulled out of the assessor's webpage sort of recently. So that's a big deal. I think that the ordinance is a good one. I know it's new. I've read a lot of them. I've written some of them. It's a good one. It does a lot to protect your residents. It addresses all of the major design points that all the other ordinances do. It requires that the project comply with certain design factors that will keep it safe and operational. The AMA, I do want to hit on real quick. AMA is an agreement between the developer and the Illinois Department of Agriculture. It's statutorily required. It's non-negotiable. They don't negotiate the terms. The Department of Ag signs it, and the developer signs it, and it has all sorts of stuff in it related to agricultural impact mitigation, including wet weather construction. There's provisions in there requiring that construction stop during certain wet weather conditions. Decommissioning is a big one, and Ryan went through some of the decommissioning elements there. The truth is that these things don't just get thrown away, they're too expensive. So early on in the project, those materials are very salvageable if for some reason they wanted to salvage them. As the life of the project goes on, into 20, 25 years, they become less salvageable, and that's why the decommissioning price increases to 100% of decommissioning costs. So it's all netted out, but there's very detailed provisions in the AMA that requires the developer to enter into these performance and surety bonds for the decommissioning of the project. They talk about soil compaction. They talk about erosion, access roads. I mean, the AMA, I wish I brought a copy of it. The AMA is very detailed, and it talks about all that sort of stuff. And your state's attorney will be aware of it too. When your state's attorney does the final review of this application, we can either direct him to it if he doesn't know where it's at. It's online. Send him a copy, whatever he needs. He can take a look at it. So I'm excited about this project. I think it really will help Edgar County, the residents, and particularly the residents in Kansas. It'll increase the tax base, and it's a good project for the community. So happy to answer any questions from a legal standpoint, if you have any. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to Ryan.
Where do your panels come from?
It's a good question. That has changed very recently with some of like the national news. I hope you're following it.
I do follow it, yes.
Yeah. So Cypress Creek actually just recently entered into an agreement with a couple other larger developers to commit to domestically made panels.
In the United States?
United States, correct. So
Not
that's
with China?
yeah, not China. Actually, so it's very likely, I can't say that now because we're pretty early in the stage, but very, very likely that we'll have US made panels.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, agreed.
One more, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just remembered it, I wanted to mention it. You talked about enforcement, and your ordinance has remedies and enforcement provisions in it. So, if for something the drain tile isn't fixed that should be, then both the drain tile owner, the drainage district, and whoever else has the jurisdiction over it has the remedies to enforce those provisions against the developer to repair that tile or anything else if need be. So that sort of compliance is built in. I'm sorry, sir.
I was just curious, do they require like insurance on this of some sort?
Yep.
What would happen if you had a tornado,
Mhm.
hailstorm, high winds, something that would damage them?
Mhm.
The insurance is required to cover replacement or something, or how does that work?
You have liability insurance, property damage and liability insurance with limits of at least $3 million per occurrence and $5 million in the aggregate. Unless the party has a net worth of $20 million or more and they can self-insure. So there's decent limits on that.
So they have to provide us the document.
Health insurance in case
They'll be on file with the county for operations and also obviously for construction as well. But when those panels are down, that's losing money for all parties involved, so it's a pretty quick turnaround to get those reordered and back online.
To make the project profitable, how many homes would have to sign up to for this project, or for the insurance, or for the electricity? Any idea?
The goal is between 300 and 400 homes. I can't speak to the profitability in that program specifically of what that cutoff number would be, but it'd be really uncommon in the state if we didn't hit that number immediately. Seemingly people are pretty excited to take money off their bill.
Mr. Chairman, anything?
Nope, I'm just taking it all in.
I think it's
Lisa, so what are you looking for us to do today?
Yeah, good question. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think ideally what we'd like is an approval of the project pursuant to your ordinance, which is really sort of a siting ordinance, subject to final engineering and building permits. So the building permits will help regulate the actual, final engineering of the project. But what we need is approval to use that parcel for this purpose pursuant to your ordinance. Because the county is not zoned. So this is the only sort of regulatory means that you have over this particular use. So we need the use approved for this parcel as identified in the application pursuant to your ordinance.
So this is not final approval, this is just
Yeah,
the approval to proceed, subject to the review of our state's attorney, and then for other conditions being met in the ordinance.
Prior to
Is that
building
correct?
permit, yeah.
Yeah.
Prior to building permit.
Now, who issues the building permit?
I am going to guess that your county engineer or highway engineer handles that.
Well, we put it in the lap, didn't we put it in the lap of our assessor?
Our assessor, I know that our assessor holds the documentation and receives the application fee, verifies the parcel.
Okay,
So
well,
yes, she is the point of contact and the keeper of all the documentation.
Okay, and then that's also subject to a road use agreement.
Mhm.
So,
And that's in your ordinance.
yes. Have we volunteered you for more information there than, were you aware of
I
any?
don't remember, I thought the assessor did the initial citing, and then I think the county, there is no building permit per se, since we're not zoned. I think the county board gives approval to move forward.
It'd be a final approval based on, or subject to everybody going, yes, we have everything we need. And it meets, is it IEMA or am I?
AIMA, Agricultural Impact.
Oh,
Mitigation
okay,
Agreement,
different
AIMA,
agency.
Yeah.
Too many agencies and too many acronyms.
Yeah, throwing around a lot of letters up here.
Okay.
So it sounds like it's actually a two-prong. We
Right.
would do the approval of the application
And citing,
and citing pending review of the document by the state's attorney, and then we would approve the building after we have our road use agreement signed
and
off
they've
and
got their
cleared.
final design and drawings.
Does that work?
Yeah, that should be fine. Would that be a formal approval similar to this at a county board
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we would do it. We're pretty transparent on all this stuff. That's our goal, so that we're totally transparent and then we can have things reviewed. Okay? Are
So,
we, is anybody uncomfortable, I'm talking to the board, or anybody uncomfortable about any of this at this point?
So I guess just so I'm clear on what next steps would be, today would be approval of the solar project for this parcel pursuant to your ordinance.
Right.
Subject to state's attorney review.
Right.
And then a permit to construct to be issued at a later date, subject to final engineering and the AIMA. Am I missing?
Yeah,
Oh,
their
road use.
approval, right,
Road use.
and a road use agreement.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And we'll have to review the tape to make sure that we get that down correctly in the minutes, actually. Okay? So I know that's a lot, but I think you identified the process, I think, adequately, and so
Okay.
we'll move forward.
That works for us.
okay.
Russ, did you have anything? Okay. Everybody else has had a shot, so. I guess where we're at now is we would have a resolution for approval of application for solar system submitted by Short Sand Solar LLC for siting and, what was the other thing? Siting and,
Citing and use of the parcel identified in the
and parcel use for the solar energy system, subject to review of our state's attorney and with final approval coming on the actual engineering, AMA, and road use agreement at an appropriate time. Is that good for you guys? Is it good for us? Okay, a motion. Lisa?
I'll make a motion.
Lisa moves, Andy seconds. I thought I saw your hand up, didn't I? Okay, all right. Any further discussion or questions at this point? Would you please call the roll, Ashley?
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Luddington,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Ellis, sorry,
Yes.
and Patrick.
Yes.
It does unanimously carry. We thank you, gentlemen. Our contact is with Lisa. At the appropriate time, she will introduce you to the highway department officials that you need to deal with for the road use agreement. And I would assume that you will keep Lisa posted on any energy development issues so that we can stay current on all that. All right?
Absolutely.
Thank you for
Thank you.
being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we have several highway items. First one is BLR 09220 agreement for the county engineer's salary. Before I think Lisa and I have checked around, right? And we find us, for our size county, to be appropriate. I mean, obviously, there's some counties that, are a lot bigger, and there's a few smaller, but we're right there, okay? So if you're comfortable with where we're headed, which you indicated on Monday morning, is that still the case, or you gonna try to hold us up for anything?
No, 6-year contract, so it's not, I don't think it's the big.
Man.
Dan, did you wanna make a motion to approve that?
I guess.
Dan moves, Lud seconds. Now, are there any discussion or questions about this motion, which we discussed on Monday? Hearing none, Ashley, would you call the roll, please?
Ellis,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Luddington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
It does carry. Next item is related to the first one, resolution appropriating the funds for the payment of the county engineer's salary. That would be under motor fuel and
STR.
STR. Funds just to make sure everybody understands, funds for funding the county engineer do not come from property tax. They come from taxes, but not property taxes, okay? Any further questions about that issue? Motion to approve, Carl moves, Andy seconds. Further discussion? Ashley, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Ellis,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Luddington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
It does carry. Next, we have a resolution on BLR 09221 for appropriation of local funds for HSIP CH4 Lower Terre Haute Road shoulders. Did we have any, did you want to synopsize or
Do you want me to?
very brief?
Briefly, that's just, the first one's the local roads assurance that the whole board's gonna vote on. That's where we're making our match, rebuilding Illinois, just like we talked about on Monday. And the second one, you'll just authorize Jeff to sign the amendment. So as you know, the project came in $500,000 over, so we have to put in another. You guys have already done this once. This is purely an amendment. You're taking your RBI match from 400 to 580, I can't remember what it is, but you're upping your RBI match in the first one, and in the second one, you're authorizing Jeff to sign the actual federal agreement. Any questions? I think we pretty well covered it.
I know, I just wanted to review so everybody here knew what we were
The first one's the local assurances that you'll use for RBI money for your match.
Motion to approve. Russ moves. Dan seconds. Further questions or discussion? If not, Ashley, would you call the roll?
Ellis,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Ludington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Okay, that does carry. Next, we have the resolution authorizing the chairman to sign BLR 05310 LA Fed participation agreement on the referenced item above. Motion to approve resolution. Russ moves. Andy seconds. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. I'm sorry, resolution. Please call the resolution.
Ellis,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Ludington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
That does carry. Next, we go to number 10, authorize chairman to execute deeds of conveyance on the following parcels that have been negotiated, and you see the designated people that are slated to purchase that for the taxes and everything else. So, is there a motion to approve this resolution, please? Russ moves, Carl seconds. Further questions? Ashley?
Ellis,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Ludington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Okay, that is authorized. Next, we have a resolution to expend coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. As we discussed, I wanted to remind everybody this mainly covers payrolls, and it does cover what we have agreed to do for the state's attorney and the public defender. We expanded them into a full-time position, so this does cover half of those funds that we're getting reimbursed for. So,
How much money are you talking about? Yeah.
roughly, it's $250,000, $249,866.49. Okay? There'll be additional funds later this year, but, we'll keep an eye on that. We're looking at doing the courthouse, some things with the courthouse, so all that plays in, okay? Motion to approve this resolution. Dan moves. Andy seconds. Any further questions or discussion? Ashley, please.
Ellis,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Ludington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other regular business before we go that I missed or you wanted?
No, we did it.
Are we okay? Did I
Yeah.
forget something this
No.
time? All right, all right, department heads, did you have anything to add?
Any questions?
Back on the road use agreement that we had down south when the tire went through, is that all finished and finalized, or is that still in
It's finished.
progress?
It's done.
Is it?
I don't think it's all spent by a few of the townships, but we're done. The county's done. The settlements have been reached and the checks have been issued.
Okay.
And I think it came late enough last year that a few of the townships didn't get all their money spent, but I think they have now. I'm not keeping up with them. I don't get into their business.
Right,
So,
yeah.
but
Well, I was cutting through the country last night or yesterday afternoon and down in Sims Township on that road going to the berry patch and on where there was some issues. I noticed there was some fresh gravel or rock in there.
yeah, I got to go through there last night because of that accident on 400. Yeah, I don't got to talk about 400, but I was on 400 yesterday. There was an accident on Route 1, pretty good one, that closed Route 1 for over an hour. And they were routing traffic down 400 and up Preston.
Wow.
Semis meeting each other on Preston Road.
Wow.
You can imagine. But just like you, last night I was very pleased to find that 400 had gotten well taken care of after the Ameren project. It's still rock, but it was
Right.
two-box
Right.
semis, you know.
Yeah, you know how it was before.
I do.
And
And 75 and 225 down there. My opinion, which you may be seeking, my personal opinion is one of satisfaction with what the townships have done with their settlement money.
Yeah.
Is that, do you share my opinion?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I've been on several of the roads, not recently, but I know last summer when they were doing a lot of the work, and it was vastly improved.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody was happy and,
I haven't heard any complaints in some time, so I believe so. You folks maybe hear more than I would,
Mhm.
but I haven't heard any complaints from any constituents.
I haven't heard anything either.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That it?
Yeah, any other questions or comments? Road use agreement on the solars, I think we're all in the same place there, that there's probably not gonna be a whole lot of road damage with a solar farm, right? We're all in the same place there, just so that we can,
But this is a good time to
Yes.
do a template for other things. In other words, this is a good way to go
Yeah.
about solidifying the things that we need to do and maybe get a checklist.
how they gonna get there?
So on future projects, we have some experience. As you can tell, we don't have a lot of experience yet with this. I don't often get a chance to say this, but Russ, do you have a report on your area?
We're deploying the 45 machines we ordered, upgrading pretty much every PC that is still running Windows 7 to Windows 10. They'll be ready for Windows 11 whenever we finally decide to make that jump. Testing out some new security solutions to enhance our security footing for cybersecurity stuff. That's kind of coupled with election stuff and just general security stuff. Other than that, general break fix stuff, tracking down emails, tracking down printers, all the usual.
I guess I have a question. You're the mayor of Kansas.
Oh, man.
There's some excitement, I guess, for this solar
Pardon me while I
farm.
switch hats.
Yeah.
I caught wind of it when Dina came back looking for the parcels. She asked me if I'd heard anything, and I had to say no, because nobody ever tells me anything. To be fair, it's just outside of village limits,
Right.
so I don't know. They're talking about drainage tiles. That should be amusing. Considering the condition of the drainage tiles running underneath Kansas, I can't even imagine just outside of Kansas, and they're all township, I believe. So, and I think we actually tie into the drainage going north. So that'll definitely be interesting.
Something for you guys to keep an eye on, because it could affect.
I would be very interested to discuss with their engineer how it may impact the village drainage if we actually do tie into that somehow. And you know, long-term wise, we're always looking for ways to improve drainage because, you know, we're a giant ditch.
Right.
So that's always a concern. As to the power provided to the village, I'm literally on the north end, right across the street from where they're talking about building. So sure, I'll take a lower power bill. But I haven't heard anything about any of that, probably because they aren't at that point yet.
Right. Okay.
I'll make sure that Tara Hopkins from Soil and Water informs you when they get started working with Soil and Water District.
Okay.
And your, not you personally probably, but your city.
No, it'd probably be me.
Okay.
Yeah.
They haven't hired their city engineer yet.
Oh, still don't
No,
have one.
we're still looking for a water. If anybody has a water guy, we're looking.
That's,
Just throwing that
that
out there.
has all the licenses and everything.
Just, you know, just the certification. That's all we're asking for.
And I guess also, you know, that's a county road going through there.
I don't know where it's at, to be honest.
But I mean, you've been involved in that water issue for some time.
This is at the north edge.
This is on the north end,
Right.
yeah.
You know, I don't know how that
They-
could
they-
affect the south end. That's where,
Well, as Ross says, there's a drainage tile that's owned by the drainage district that drains the entire village.
Yeah,
right.
well,
That
sort
runs
of.
straight west of the Inbrook.
Yeah.
Doesn't do an effective job.
Well, you know,
My suggestion to the board, if I think you have some strength here, is to make a recommendation on who their local drainage expert is. did I hear there's gonna be an exploratory trench and that they're gonna take all the tiles around it?
Yeah, that was wrong.
Is that what I heard?
Why it's yeah, I think it's in our ordinance that it has to be somebody local.
Yes.
That we don't just go by their word.
Yeah, local independent tile drainage expert, don't use theirs.
So that's my
They're in the phone
recommendation.
book, in the yellow pages.
Jeff, is that your area?
No, oh, yes, yes, that is my area.
So my recommendation would be that the county board, through you and Ross, as the village of
Yeah, we
Kansas,
come up with a local expert.
make a recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's a lot of drainage experts in Kansas, trust me.
Yeah.
Did they
well,
say they go in and replace all the drainage
That's what I thought I
And
heard.
talking
Yeah,
about
that's what I-
on the-
on that,
On that property.
Yeah,
All right.
I thought that was interesting.
I don't think they meant that.
You don't think they meant
No,
that?
I don't.
Well, it would make
That's what he
sense
said.
because he did mention that whenever they come in to do one of these projects, they often find that the tile is not, I mean, it hasn't been maintained or it's the old clay and it's
So it's
crumbling.
right.
So it's probably maybe more cost effective for them to just go ahead and drop a new one. I don't know.
I'd get a drainage expert involved
But-
pretty quickly.
Okay,
If
all right.
that's the case.
The local guy, you know, doesn't have to be them doing the work as much as just.
Advisor.
Monitoring and
Yeah.
looking at what they're gonna do and
Because I
going.
I assume they'll pay for the work to be done, so they'll have their people do it, but you gotta have somebody independent watching.
And they gotta watch the hole.
Okay, I will communicate with Tara at Soil and Water. Make sure she informs Ross and Wyatt when they start working on it, and about the local drainage.
We need to find somebody who's the go-to person for that area, that everybody trusts.
Hmm?
Is that Trace?
There's a couple of them over there.
Mhm.
Yep,
There's several interested people,
okay.
Okay, we'll be in
which
touch.
there used to be. I haven't been.
Yeah, I don't know. I can think of a couple, but I don't know whether they're still able to, at any rate. Well,
Generally speaking, there's turf, let's just say it that way. There's probably someone's turf.
there's no.
How's that sound? Is that fair?
Yep.
Be good to find out who that is.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
Tom? Things
Our-
happened out there.
Our taxiway resurfacing project is complete,
Is it the lights and everything are all the electrical? Okay.
and they're removing equipment as of yesterday afternoon.
And then they have to fix the road, or the bar, or the haul roads?
That's done, they do need to seed it.
Okay. All right.
And he sent them down to us, Jeff. Tom sent them straight down to the lower T when he got done with them.
Did he?
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
For what?
Well, they did the Crispin High School parking
Yeah,
lot
they in
too.
between, that's
They
in
did-
between.
They had several deals going on. We had a bid come out, well, Tom, for the airport main runway. It was in excess of 29% over, or approximately $400,000. However, the state has let us know that FAA has the funds and is inclined to cover that expense so that, and for other projects, because across the board, everything was over, pretty much, without exception. So they're willing to step up and make those projects happen. So we'll keep you posted if that actually does happen, but that's where we're at.
So we'll send them back up to you when we're done with them.
The crop dusting, is that about over with?
It's winding down, it's not finished, but we only have one plane working.
What was the most you had out there at one
I
time?
think we had 7.
Wow.
About that.
Well, that's been a busy summer then.
Not as busy as some summers, but still
Really?
decent.
Hopefully they turn those things off just before they go on the highway and get it on my car.
I figured it might be busier because I just more and more I hear people talking about using the fungicides and all that.
Started out slow, but then picked up real fast.
Seems like a lot of it, maybe.
probably wouldn't be the need for fungicides and then it ran.
The weather gets on.
Seed companies were not pushing.
And we did get our reimbursement for fuel tax money.
Got that?
We're still waiting for a reimbursement for $31,000. And the pile, except for Brad's little left pile there out at the
And
areas.
that's disappearing
Yes.
slowly.
Yeah. I was told that he needed to move that pile quickly or it would
Yes.
solidify again and then he wouldn't be able to get it out of there, so. Anyway, anything else, Tom?
Nope.
Before Jill, if we go to Jill, I wanted to commend the fair board, Jill's office, and all of the first responders in the community for their activities in support of the fair and the concert. It showed an immense amount of cooperation. Jill helped coordinate that, and we appreciate that. But without the cooperation of the other agencies, whether they be law enforcement, the ambulance services, the fire departments, the Northern Edgar County Ambulance Service, it wouldn't have come off with pretty much out of hitch. There was probably in the fairgrounds, including the people that went to the event, the concert specifically, there was probably around 6,000 people in the fairgrounds with 40-some hundred attending the concert. And I just wanted to make sure that we commended everybody involved. It was a perfect opportunity, and I think the best cooperation I've seen since I've been on the board. And I just wanted to thank you, so.
Yeah, so that went, I mean, very smoothly. We didn't have any issues. We had, 3 or 4 meetings prior to the actual concert, starting in my office, ending up at the fairgrounds. Hospital had their tent out there. I think they said they treated maybe 5 to 6 individuals, one having to be transported to the ER. We had our mobile command center we got from Ilias. They brought it up from Mount Vernon just in case we had an incident. It had a camera. You could see the whole fairgrounds through. It was really cool. Yeah, other than that, I said they had several individuals out there working for, police, fire, ambulance, EMS, everything. So, like I said, we got very lucky with nice weather, and it went awesome. And like I said, we had a follow-up meeting last Friday in my office, and only negative thing anybody had to say was the concert was so loud it was hard to hear radio communications, even with their earpieces in, from radioing each other and things. But other than that, it went really well. Talked to American Environmental. We are still waiting on FEMA to approve our hazard mitigation plan. If there's anything else. I said I'll be getting in touch with Lisa and Kirk Allen and possibly Harris Fire. I'm not sure who else would need to be involved.
Maybe as backup, that would probably be wise.
To help with our EOP and find out exactly what's needed for emergency response with the solar farms.
Any questions of Jill?
And I still have 2 working doors.
Thank you, Jill. Wyatt, we appreciate your help as usual and you chiming in and giving us feedback. Anything that you need to report this morning?
Nothing other than that, I would like to commend you guys. Your ordinances are being picked up and used as a baseline for other counties. I've sent that to 2 other counties now, and they're pretty happy with what they've read so far.
Any questions of Wyatt on anything? Okay. I think I've covered the Don is recovering and so is Augie, so they're not around, but hopefully they're back feeling better soon. You'll notice you've got your sheet on cash flow. There's not a whole lot to say. Remember, if you look at the top figure and it says 644, 890, whatever, against 300 last year, it's because of taxes and some other incomes that have come in that, which will come in, they're just late right now, so we're in okay shape. Let's see. Can't think of anything else on behalf of Don, other than to tell you that the bonds were sold and deposited into our accounts, special accounts. We met with the bank yesterday. Don was able to go over there yesterday, and we do have it in money markets. Don opened up a money market account, and the base on that right now is 2.25, but that's just to hold it till he can get things figured out and get it invested, and that would be up to 3%. It'd be laddered and not go out too far because the trend is up. So I guess the bottom line is the funds are being invested and they're protected. And so the bank has to pledge over the federal insurance funds to, or bonds to secure whatever we put in that bank and however we invest it. Okay, that's the state law. So are there any questions about that? Okay. Department reports, the cat man himself, Dan.
Andrew called the other day. She's having some work done on the outdoor pins, and I think she said she hired Creech to work on it, and we got the materials, and it's gonna be paid out of donations, so. I think she's covering up the outdoor pins, so make it better for the winter time for the animals.
Well, and in the heat of the summer,
Right.
they need to have shade.
And the pin is full, so you anybody needs an animal, appreciate it. Take one, maybe. Other than that, no problems.
Okay. Andy?
I just wanted to make sure that someone, we got an estimate for I mentioned it Monday, for the 2 heaters in the basement.
We've signed it.
You go ahead and.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's done.
I did get a call from Ray Cordy this morning. Are you familiar with, he said Andrew's got some doors out there that need to be replaced.
Yes, a couple doors, so they're falling apart, so
And
I think the guys doing the pins, they do the doors too.
Okay.
So they just taking care of it.
Okay. Sounds good. And you want to mention anything about the different companies that we had respond to the RFQ?
We've had five
Different ones. We looked over them, and later in the month, we're going to decide which ones to.
Well, here the next day or so, we're gonna decide which ones we're gonna interview.
Yeah.
And that will take place either the end of next week or the beginning of the following week.
Looked over, and there's, some of them are pretty big. I don't know whether they fit in, whether that's fit into what we want or not, but
I think all of them are qualified,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
It's just the feeling you get and who we would work best with at this point. Do you have any, does that agree with your comments on it, Josh?
Same thing, yeah.
Okay. We're looking at different things in the courthouse. I might let the others know about that, elevator wise.
Yeah. Basically, I won't really know a lot till probably Monday, but.
Right.
Had decided that, I mean, they had given us a location to relocate the elevator in the, basically the old sheriff's office, and what's below there and up and partially into the state's attorney's office.
Yes.
And we had suggested, and he seems to think that it's, he meaning Klinger and Associates, that it may be possible to locate that on the, which
Southwest portico.
Southwest portico exterior, but it would fit in that portico. I don't think it would be an eyesore.
Wouldn't be obtrusive.
Right. So come Monday, I think, once we can talk to them, we may decide, ask them what costs are gonna be and where, if that's a possibility, to relocate it there, which area would be the most cost effective. And
Well, if we were able to do that, and it works out, it would be less issues inside of the courthouse. And that would, you know, even if that costs a little bit more on the outside, it might save us the money on the inside and be less disruptive about functions in the courthouse. Does that make sense? So we need to weigh it out,
right, we'll just
okay?
see what they say, what we feel is the best alternative place.
We'll have a committee notice, and it's at, what is it at?
County
9?
Highway at 10:30 Monday morning.
Thank you, I couldn't remember, yes, 10:30, so there'll be a public notice of that committee meeting. So, Gary, if you're interested, we'll make sure that you're, or you have the information. Anyway.
And you'll have some information on the roof. also
Yes,
at that point.
yes. In fact, CORE will be with them. Okay, so that was part of the reason why we had to move the meeting from the afternoon to the morning, because CORE could be there, okay, which is our construction management firm. We did get a contract from them, which we're not gonna execute yet. They want 5%, 5% plus contingencies, if they have any, to help with the construction of, and handle the management of the selection and making sure everybody does the work that they say they're gonna do on both the elevator and the roof. We'll yet to discuss that, okay? But that's part of what a construction, they'd handle the bids and making sure the work was complete and up to code or up to snuff as far as long-term investment of our funds. But I wanted to make you aware of that, so you may be thinking about that, whether we just want to bid it out and have them manage their own stuff, or whether we want to have somebody looking over their shoulder to make sure they do it right. And if there's any cost estimating problems, they would handle that too. Carl, question?
So that's just on the roof and the elevator?
Yes, it had nothing to do with anything else.
Okay.
Yes. And that's, I understand, pretty standard. I mean, it can be negotiated, but that's where we sit. So
What-
nobody's gonna sign a contract or
Right.
anything on it.
So then, as far as the architect, we've already done that on the roof, but we haven't done anything on
They've
the...
done most of it, yes, on the elevator, but they stopped until we picked. I mean, certain things, components are not gonna change.
Right,
But, you know, taking out the old elevator, putting in a new one, it would be the location in the ramifications of remodeling that they would have to do there.
do you know what the fees are for the architects?
They're usually about, what are they, 11?
I think that was on the,
Nine.
your estimates was them and the others, so I think it's a little less than that.
A little less than that.
So I think that was
I was-
both in
I'm-
and core at 11.
Oh, it was a combination?
Yeah, that was on the jail one.
On the jail, I remember
It was
seeing
a combination,
11,
was
11-some
11%.
percent. I figured that was maybe
So,
combined, but I wasn't sure.
6% maybe, if it was
Right.
5 for core,
Right.
6 for them maybe, something like that.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. A lot of us are new haven't done this in a long time, so we're learning but being careful. Thank you, Josh. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you've walked around the outside, the 4 places where you come into the courthouse, you come up the steps, they're getting in some pretty bad repair. I don't know whether you want to toss that to them Monday and say, hey, give us an idea. I don't think you'd want to do any sidewalks, or maybe not even any of that repair, at least until you get done with the heavy equipment that works on the roof. That's kind of what I've been waiting on, but
And
some
that
of
may
it's,
dovetail in, we've got a grant out to take care of all that stuff.
okay,
And remember Massey and Massey,
yeah.
it would be the one that would design the outside, or finish the design of the outside, and it's in that grant. What grant is that?
That was rebuild
Downtown.
Main Streets or something like that.
Right,
downtown
Main Streets. So that's still in the hopper, but I'm not sure, I can tell by Aaron's demeanor that the odds of that one are probably slim and none.
Well, I mean, we were in my office the other one, someone told us that they think they just scrapped the program. Who was that? Do you
I
remember?
don't remember that.
That's what my impression was. I didn't think that was
Well,
going
Massey's-
anywhere.
Kent said the other day that they heard from somebody, they might make some selection in August.
Right,
this
that's
month,
what I heard, but I didn't
What
wanna
they think is
say.
going, they have no idea.
Yeah, I think that was the Coles County people.
Was it Kelly that said that?
Yeah,
I think
and
you're right.
I
I
think,
think you're right.
I don't think it was quite that definitive.
Well, I
But-
agree. I didn't like what I heard. How's it sound?
Well,
It didn't sound positive.
anytime you hear about the grants with the state, it's usually, if they're gonna be here,
Yeah,
they're out here,
Yeah.
and it's just very frustrating. But the gist of it is that we don't wanna be messing with anything until
Find
the
out yes or
elevator,
no.
yeah, we don't wanna be doing sidewalks and then put a
Right,
huge
no.
crane on the thing and, I mean, there's time, as long as life safety is taken care of. If we got a huge crack or we got stones falling off the steps, that becomes an issue that we have to repair, but in the meantime, no permanent, I agree.
Okay. That's it.
Lud,
Nothing.
Russ, Carl,
Down at Elbridge, where we're going road, where you pile rock different times. I noticed that gully that's running to the north, did you fill that in with some more stuff just recently?
we're prepping that laydown area for the mountain of material that's going to be produced when they excavate the shoulders for the
Okay.
lower T project. So they're going to dig out 3 foot of earth and put, actually 4 foot of earth, and put 3 foot of asphalt back, which is going to create a lot of spoil, and that's where it's going. So what we took was that big mound of unfinished spoil and flattened it out because we're anticipating needing a lot of room for
Okay.
what's
Is it
coming.
the curve, you're on the curve, where they usually have that sand stuff piled? or-
No, that's a,
That's Marley. No, that one's
yeah,
not
that's a
going.
Marley.
That might get broken concrete, just so you know.
Well, just out there's the town of Marley. Used to be
There is?
three houses there.
It's been all my life, I never even heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
It could get stacked with broken concrete and stuff in the interim
Okay.
too. So there's
I'm
gonna
just
be
curious what that,
project-related activity out there.
okay.
Yes.
And that, well, Angie's not here, but after the meeting, we need to go down and look at that storage area where we couldn't get into the other day.
Yeah, okay.
Just to take a look at that, and I'll see if I can get her to go down there, because I think it's her storage area, she can get a key to get us in there.
we need to make sure that's open on Monday too.
Yeah,
So when we do leave the highway department, we can take a look.
unless Ray's here.
Yeah.
If Ray's not here, we'll get with Angie, but we need to go look at that.
Well, Ray should be here for the meeting. I
Pardon?
mean, we should make sure Ray is around for the meeting.
Right.
He's called me, I talked to Ray this morning, and he had something, he couldn't make the meeting this morning.
Okay.
Okay, but I meant, I
Yeah.
was talking next Monday.
See if he can come to the meeting at 10:30 on Monday,
Okay.
Don't you think it'd be,
so that it involves him, he needs to know what's going on.
Okay.
yeah. Is that all right? Okay.
That's it.
Vivian? Lisa?
We continue, Jeff and I, and Ross, thank you so much for continuing to set it up for us. We continue looking at a couple of different HR payroll software packages that, I know the more we talk, the more excited Pam Dixon gets, and that's a good thing. But it would definitely bring some of our processes up to the 21st century. And the price for at least one of them, and it's priced according to the number of employees that will be using it, so it's not a set fee. And the price of the one at least was not nearly as much as we thought it might be. The other thing that we continue to take a look at is the possibility of having an HR specialist who would be the primarily responsible person for HR and payroll processes and maintaining the system.
New hires, filing, just, well, at least coordinating discipline, all of that.
Yeah, and the point of contact for elected officials and department heads. That's it.
You did not get, Don has not been able to update the budget, but as soon as we can, we'll get it to you. We've gotten most of the stuff in, cash flow wise, taxes went out, in fact, I got mine
So
yesterday.
did I, appreciate that.
I'll tell you what, the place has been busy. Right after the mail hit everybody, there's been a steady stream of people paying their taxes. In fact, a lot of them are paying everything. They're not splitting it in half. They're just paying the whole thing to be done with it. So we'll look forward to maybe a distribution here in 30 days or so. So that will make us look a little better. Not that we're not good to start with. As soon as the boys get well again, we'll get the budget out to everybody so that we can deal with that. One of the things I'd like to say we discovered that the health department through Pam has their own payroll system that basically.
HR system.
HR system, which makes it's a hands-off, what am I trying to say? It's an automated system. So we might not have to put them into what we're paying for to the new system that we're gonna be on. Does that make sense? So we may see some economies there. I really don't have anything else right now. Questions of me? Okay, we didn't get a chance to see the state's attorney, so we're gonna go up there today. There was a lot that happened over the weekend, so we didn't get a chance to see Tim. We're gonna do that. You guys are gonna go downstairs and take a look at storage. We've got next Monday coming up, so we've got a lot of things going. And I think it's all positive, so we'll go from there. Anything else? Motion to adjourn. Andy moves. Russ seconds. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Jeez. You guys make fun. You wait. Dan and I